My friends, this morning thought is education is the vaccine of violence. Education works as a vaccine to all violence. There is no denying the fact that education is a critical pedagogy and sociology that really makes diffraction of violence. It also suggests that education as the diffraction of violence is a mechanism that disperses, analyzes, and transforms societal violence into critical awareness. Educated people often avoid violence. They always resolve the issues and conflict with the help of talks and negotiation. The societal violence can be changed into critical awareness through education. Not bookish knowledge, not academic knowledge, education that makes all round, awareness about what is happening, what is needed, and what is the, what is the need of the nation, what is the need of the hour. The education works as a channel. It removes all physical distraction you know and makes peace and progress. Understanding this philosophy that education works as a vaccine to all violence, let us examine how violence and education intersect each other. Diffraction versus reflection. Look at that. In in physics, we have already read that diffraction refers to the bending and spreading of waves around obstacles. In physics, it is already defined that diffraction is the phenomena of bending and spreading of waves around obstacles. In the similar manner, diffracting violence means taking the raw destructive energy of violence and bending it into different forms, such as dialogue, historical analysis, and social justice activism. Instead of reflecting violence, we can really make some sort of diffraction, some sort of distraction towards some other matters. you know Destructing structural violence, sociologists always have coined the term structural violence and describe the systematic injustice such as poverty, racism, and gender inequality. These are the hurdles. If there is no inequality in the society, if there is no gender bias in the society, if there is no structural or injustice, if there is no poverty in the society, there will be no violence at all, because these are the causes that cumulatively attribute to violence in the society. So, friends, it's very important to remove the structural violence by removing injustice, removing poverty, racism, gender inequality, and other sociological factors that can cause people to just go for violence. So why not to remove social inequality? Why not to remove injustice? Why not to remove poverty? The problem the society is facing these days often ignorance of a structural violence, because it is woven into everyday's laws and institution. The education reposes. Education always acts as a diffractive or as a diffractor by making these invisible systems work in a very powerful manner. You can transform aggression into argument. Whenever anyone is aggressive, ask him to relax and just think for a while. Why he is aggressive? What has made him aggressive? So the work of education is to turning passive acceptance into capacity to change unjust system, transforming aggression into argument. Friends, whenever there is an aggression in the society, whenever an individual is in violent mood, often try to stem. There is certainly often analyze, you'll find that there is lack of communication between him and his skills. He might be a very knowledgeable person. So lack of communication skill, emotional regulation might lead to violence. So you have to provide the people opportunity to talk and express himself. There may be some misunderstanding due to wrong use of word, or the person may not be able to understand that that right communication. So lack of communication skills and emotional regulation or understanding leads to violence. So before we can really think of removing violence from the society, we have to educate the people. We have to make them powerful communicator. We have to make them understand how to communicate their problems to the authority, to the people, to the society, and to the governing bodies, because unless and until they communicate their problem, so because of the lack of communication skill and emotional regulation and understanding, people often become violent. So we have to act as a diffracting medium. Education acts as a diffraction to violence. The role of curriculum also plays an important role. That is the reason why we have said that education can bring out a drastic change in the society. Educated society often, communicate and removes the differences. They diffuse the violence by bilateral talks. But uneducated people, uneducated society, uneducated country, or less educated people often resort to violence. So the curriculum of education also provides the vocabulary and the framework necessary for individual to express their frustrations. If a person is frustrated and he's upset with his personal problem or his economic scarcity, allow him to express. But unless and until he understands the words, what actually he wants to say, and how you are responding to his words, how you are making him understand that anything can be resolved through talks and negotiation, not through violence. Even if in the family we see that if the wife is not educated and the husband is educated, it is very difficult for the husband to make her understand that the family means not only wife and husband, it also means parents, it also means children, it also means relatives and friends. But the educated family understand and they cooperate. They sometimes understand that yes, this is the need of the hour to extend economic support to the family, because after all, a family is not simply a wife, husband, and children. It consists of all the old age parents who have a lot of expectations from their children, and it is quite natural that the children should be responsible to them. So the curriculum also plays an important role in diffusing, all sorts of confusion among the individuals, and express their frustrations in talks and in words, just to negotiate the differences peacefully. We have seen that any kind of conflict can be resolved through bilateral talks, through dialogue, through communication. But if you are poor in communicating your thoughts and ideas, who will help you? No one can help you. So you have to have a very powerful communication. You should have right vocabulary. If a person is very much upset, use certain cooling words, soothing words, that he should be at least at peace. Because if a person is peaceful, his mind is quiet and calm, then only he will listen to you. The people use wrong words and vocabulary. When a person is violent, they start making some, they use the word which inflame his mind, inflammatory or derogatory words they use. So we have to avoid any kind of vocabulary that is derogatory and that hurts the person. And you see, the role of curriculum is also to make certain, I mean, critical thinking. If a problem has come to the society or to the individuals, it is the duty of the educated people to resolve the problem through dialogue, through negotiation, or through making that person understand that the cause of your frustration and your being upset is not somebody else. It is your own, lack of understanding, lack of communication, lack of, yes, lack of analysis, that you have really become violent. So that person need to be made to be understand that yes, it is only his fault, not the fault of the society, not the fault of the people. The result is that the raw destructive urge to lash out, physical diffusion, can into a debate or into an artistic expression and into a civil action. See, on the national level, just think of that, where there is a fair administration. You see the people who are fair in their the officers, those who are governing and looking after the problem of the people. If they are fair, if they're justified, if they're capable, they often win the confidence of the people, and hardly there is any chance of a conflict between the governing body and the people, because the people have the trust in that person, that is, that person is doing the welfare of the people and he is dedicated to the welfare of the people. So once you have just made that, you once you have communicated that your task is to do the welfare of the people, there will be no conflict. So education as a force can make and sort out old conflicts and differences. A complete analysis also acknowledges a paradoxical, view. Thinkers like Michael Foucault and Ivan Illich argue that traditional schooling can also be a form of symbol or structural violence. It often enforces a single dominant worldview. So we need to have a very transparent perception why there is violence, because in education we lack sometimes transparency. So there is a need to inculcate transparency, enforce some sort of, non-authoritarian structure. Don't be authoritative to all the condition. It is the task of education to diffract physical violence into psychological and institutional control. Truly speaking, education can prevent any sort of violence, any sort of conflict, and any sort of, because once you are authoritative, for instance, if you are running an institution and if you are the head of the institution, and if you are not communicating to your educators, if you are not having faith in them, there will be conflict. There will be conflict of thoughts and ideas. Most of the violence occur due to conflict of thoughts and ideas and lack of proper communication. Even you see in a big corporate sector, if the head of the that corporate body is not amicable to his employee, is not listening to their problem, their hardships or their technical snag, it is very difficult to really solve the problems, and that will hurdle the development of the sector. So in any society, education plays a key role in removing it. Works as a vaccine. It works as a vaccine to all violence. Take the example of a small family or a big family. When there is a confusion between the members of the family, if you sit on the table and talk in a manner, communicate in a manner, it is possible only when the members are educated, they have the understanding, they have the proper communication skill, they have the intensity and intention of the resolving the issues through talk, through understanding, there is no problem. So, right from the family to the nation, to the nation to the global scenario, everywhere there is a need of educational approach. That is the reason why educational institution use as a link, as a community center to resolve the societal disputes and bring the community into the center of education. And that is the role of a very powerful role of education. Education these days cannot only be academic centered, cannot be bookish centered. It is also working as a center of social welfare, as a center of community welfare, as a center of creating awareness among the people about health and hygiene, mental wellness, and all that. Education institutions and educational centers are not only meant for imparting knowledge, bookish knowledge, they are also working as a body of, societal welfare. It is also working as a center of, you know, communication, as a center of awareness. It is creating awareness about health and hygiene, creating awareness about parental education. It is also creating awareness about how to really live in a peaceful and progressive manner. And that is what Edison believes. Thank you. Have a nice morning.